What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke, where we will be previewing the first final against Melbourne. Let's get into it. So, I know, look, it's a little bit of a gag, really, but at the start of the season, or probably a couple of weeks into the season, I retired the Bunnings hat. You know, it's been synonymous with the channel and stuff like that. And I've had messages like, well, when's the Bunnings hat, going to be back? So I thought I'd bring it back for finals. So you can see that it's really, well, you can't, it's a bit blurry, but you can see that it's really worn out. It was bright green, and now it's just really, really worn out. But the Bunnings hat is back for finals, and Collingwood are back for finals. Yeah, let's just have a chat about it. So we're back again. We know it is an insane time. It really, really is. With that week off that we experienced last week, it just makes your nerves jump all over the place. I know, for a couple of hours I'd be, yeah, awesome. I'm really confident, and then a couple of hours later I'd be like, no, I'm absolutely crapping myself. I'm so nervous. Then a couple of hours later, I'd be like, yeah, sweet, I'm good to go. So, with that extra week, it does delay the inevitable of a final. But the beauty about this final is we've qualified with a double chance, right? So that's really nice. It's a bit of a cushion, a double chance because you work so hard throughout the season. We finish top of the ladder, and we get that double chance. We're awarded a double chance. Now, cast your minds back to that first qualifying final last year against Geelong. That was probably one of the best games, besides the 2010 Grand Final replay, that I've ever witnessed. It was high pressure, high tackling, goal for goal in the end. We were up by a little bit. Geelong came back, and then Daicos kicked those goals in the last quarter. Then we know what happened with Max Holmes and stuff. That game was intense and insane. A lot of Geelong players came out in a doco and said, that was one of the hardest games they've ever had to play. I've heard from various people in the footballing community that Geelong didn't want to play us last season in that first qualifying final. I feel like that game is a very good blueprint of how this Collingwood Melbourne game is going to go. Sorry. We know that Collingwood have had a bit of an up and down 6 weeks ever since that Port Adelaide game and pretty much sewing up top spot. We've been a little bit lethargic, losing to Carlton, Hawthorn, Brisbane Lions as well, but winning when we needed to. A big win against Geelong to pretty much seal the top spot, and then belting Essendon by 70 points. Now, if we didn't belt Essendon by 70 points and we ended up winning by 20, 30 points, I would have been like, okay, there might be a little bit of cause for concern here. But I don't think that these last 6 weeks are as worrying as the media and opposition fans especially are making it out to be. I feel like, look, and I've said it in so many of my previews and reviews of games and stuff, and Craig McRae's come out and said it as well in a way where, it could be that we've had one eye on the finals, and Craig McRae says, let's take it a week at a time, let's take it a week at a time. But when you're finishing first and you've got, three or so games in hand, you can't help but look to finals. And you could feel it around the crowd. You could feel it when you talk to any single Collingwood supporter. They're just like, okay, let's just get through these 6 weeks or whatever it was, 5, 6 weeks, and get to finals. And now we're finally here. We've qualified, like Craig McRae says. We qualify, and we've done that. And now the second season begins. Will it be as easy as flicking on a switch? Um, I think so. I think it will be. This team, what we've seen over the past 24 months, their resilience, when they're playing really good football, they play really good football. Yes, we lost our DNA a little bit. I put that down to a little bit of psychology. I put that down to just, a little bit of training loads. Craig McRae said it, not me, mate. Craig McRae said training loads. So I put it down to just having one eye on the final. But we got that back against Essendon, those runs off half back. We got it back against Brisbane. Even though we lost that game, that was a very good pressure game from the Pies. Yes, we let Brisbane kick, 124 points, but we kicked over 100 points, right? And then we got it back in parts in that Geelong game where we were, kicking goals and high pressure and defense. And it was all sort of coming together these last 3 weeks. So, you've got to think that we finished first on the ladder because of what we were able to do in the first, 16, 17 or so weeks before the Carlton and Hawthorn back-to-back losses. So we haven't just turned off that great defensive work, and I feel like we are chomping at the bit to go on against Melbourne. Now, more on this game instead of the lead up, it is going to be a hard fought game. Melbourne are probably the informed team right now. And, it's good for them that they finish fourth because they get pretty much a home final, really, because they play at the G. So it doesn't really advantage any team finishing first or fourth and playing a home final at G. So they're both advantaged or disadvantaged or whatever you want to say because they both play at the G, right? So you can take that out of the equation. But this game is big for a lot of reasons. Obviously, if you win, you go into a prelim, you get a nice week's rest. If you lose, the path to the grand final becomes just that little bit harder, and mainly because you need to play an extra game, but because you will end up playing the winner of the Carlton Sydney game, and then if you win that game, you go over to let's just say you go over to either Brisbane at the Gabba or Port Adelaide in Port Adelaide. Two absolute fortresses. Port play really well at their home ground, and Brisbane, we know that the Gabba is just their bread and butter. So you want to avoid that interstate trip as much as you can. So this game, although it's not an elimination final and we both have second chances, it really does feel like an elimination final because you want those two home games at the G, especially in that prelim. It's going to be so advantageous if we can get that home final or the prelim final at the G. Now, Melbourne, a great team. I said that just before. Great players. They've just been the benchmark of the competition for the last couple of years. Yes, last year, did they go out in straight sets last year? But they were still a really good team. Obviously, they won the week before, the year before as well. So they've got a lot to play for. Petrarca's coming into really good form. Gawn's coming into really good form without Grundy. Unfortunately, Jake Malcolm was injured. Bailey Frisch, I think I pronounced that right, kicked 5 goals against Sydney to help them win the game. Pretty much won the game off his own boot. So he comes in as well. So they are a very, very dangerous side, but we do match up really well with them. And look, I don't know how much you want to take into account what we did last time, that last game that we played, Queen's birthday, Brody Grundy was playing. Melbourne were only without Clayton Oliver. We ended up losing by 4 points. Yes, we scored a couple of goals right at the end, but that's exactly what Collingwood do. We could have pinched that game. We were without a lot of players. Jamie Elliott, Bobby Hill, Jack Ginnivan, to name a few. There were a couple more that were out. And I remember very well that there was a couple of cases of COVID that went through the club. So it was a flu game for us. So, we were nowhere near our best. Melbourne did really well, and they got the blueprint from Brisbane. They did really well to cut off our intercepts, cut off our marks and runs from the half-back line. And that's what they're going to want to do again. They're going to want to replicate that. We need to find a way, and hopefully Craig McRae's watched enough of the Melbourne games and that Collingwood-Melbourne game again, to come up with a plan B where, Melbourne aren't going to let us run. They're not going to let us run at all. So we need to counteract that with something. What is the counteract going to be? I have no idea. But we can't be on the back foot against a Melbourne team like this. And then they're great at forcing turnovers. They're a great pressure team, contested possession team, and, in front of goal. So any sort of fumbling, like we saw a lot in the last few weeks, they're going to eat it up. One more thing that we can't afford to do, and I know you know what I'm going to say, please, for the love of everything Collingwood holy, don't bomb it long into the forward line so May and Lever can eat those marks up. It happened earlier on in the season. It happens to every single team. You should know by now, or we should know by now, that May and Lever are going to mark absolutely bloody everything that comes his way. Kind of like what Darcy Moore, does as well, and Nathan Murphy and IQ and stuff like that. So we have to avoid that. Keep them low to the ground, or if you're going to bomb it long, at least man up. Do they, I have a feeling that Jeremy Howe is going to play a defensive forward role. He did very well on Tom Stewart recently. Was he trying to play a defensive role on Harris Andrews again? Maybe. But I think we need that as well, just to kind of throw them a little bit, because you have to keep these guys accountable, or else you end up losing this game. Speaking of personnel as well, Darcy Moore, Bo McCreary, Nathan Murphy all come into the side, I would assume, definitely. Who comes out of the side, though, is the hardest question. Finn McRae, definitely. You would think one of Markov or Will Hoskin-Elliott maybe makes it to the bench. But then, who's that third unlucky player? Because Ginnivan and Bobby Hill have definitely kept their spots, so I would hate to be on the selection committee, and I can dare say they've got a bunch of headaches. Now, the biggest question is Nick Daicos. Is he right to go? Does he play? If this was an elimination final, he would have played. But, like I prefaced this video with before, it's not an elimination final, but there is so much on the line where an 85% Nick Daicos I would take. 100%. 100%, 85% Nick Daicos I would take. Melbourne don't really go with a tagger, I don't think, from memory. So, even if we deploy him off half back instead of putting him into the middle and trying to go on through the middle, we need his skills down there, because you don't want, like I said, you don't want to lose this game and then have to play Carlton or Sydney and then have to go interstate, most likely to the Gabba, to make your way to the grand final. That's not to say that, if we lose a qualifying final, we won't make a grand final. We did it in 2018. I don't think, no, 2011 we didn't do it. 2010 we didn't do it, from memory. 2018 we definitely did do it. And one of 2002 and 2003, my memory is a bit shocking at the moment. But we have done it before, and a lot of teams have done it before, right? So if we lose, it's not the end of the world. But you want to win. You want that extra week off, especially with all the sort of niggles and stuff that all these players get, and then, Nick Daicos, if he's only 85%, give him that extra 15%. I wouldn't play him as sub, but if he's good to go, I'd play him. 110% I would play him. This game is too important. You want that prelim at home. You don't want to go through Carlton. You don't want to go through Carlton or Sydney and the Gabba or Port Adelaide. So, Nick Daicos, I'm playing him if he is good to go. If he says, yeah, look, I'm good to go, and the doctors say, yeah, he's good to go, he's good to go. Get him on the MCG on Thursday night. Look, it is, finals are... finals are a weird one. It's a great position to be in, but sometimes you go far out. I don't know if I can deal with the anxiety, and especially the last 6 weeks, you kind of see the Collingwood wobbling a little bit. I know I used that word, but I really don't think there is anything to sort of be worried about. I do think that we match up really well against Melbourne, and I feel like we are going to win. I reckon we'll only win by about 14 points. That's my prediction. But I feel like we're going to win. My big call is that Jamie Elliott is going to kick 4 goals. And Jack Ginnivan is going to star in this game. Everything that we've come to know about Collingwood in the last 6 weeks and that the media have written is going to be scrapped, because we are going to come out, I feel, with such a ferocious intent to prove everyone wrong. I think we're going into this game not as favourites, but I feel like, we are going to play backs to the wall Collingwood, ferocious intent, and we're going to show the competition again why they had us as premiership favourites as early as whatever it was, round 6 or something like that. This is the game that shows us if we can win the flag or not. If you win this game, I reckon you're pretty much guaranteed. Not guaranteed. You're pretty much. What word am I trying to look for? You've got a very, very, very high chance of winning the flag if you win this game. If you lose this game, definitely not the end of the world. You do have that, the straight sets in the back of your head going, oh shit, I don't want to go out in straight sets. But, we'll come to that hurdle if we ever get to it, which I don't think we will. But all I want to see from this Collingwood side, win or lose, is a hunger and a ferocious energy that we haven't seen since that Port Adelaide game. Because that Port Adelaide game was really good for that pressure and stuff. I want to see that Collingwood DNA back. I want to see hunger, ferociousness, and any other sort of verb you can put in there. But anyway, guys, this has just been my preview of the Collingwood-Melbourne game. Thursday night, 7:20. I'll be there. Swooping Around will be there. The Bunnings hat will be there. I wish they would sponsor me. And it is going to be one hell of a game. One hell of a game. Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later. What is going on, swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. What is going on, swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke.